Hello, Twitch chatters. Are you guys ready for the first main channel content tier list? That's right. This isn't gonna be just a rant for the second channel that I eventually take down because I don't like my explanations. This is gonna be an actual video. Yes, we're gonna do sub specials and kits. This will be 2 videos eventually, but yeah. Alright, hello everyone! Today we are going to be ranking all the special and sub weapons in a Splatoon 3 tier list, and in a future part I will be ranking all the main weapons. This is from the perspective of a pro player talking about competitive Splatoon because pretty much anything can work in solo queue. If you like the video, be sure to subscribe so you can see how the fuck do I say this? If you enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the second part, and let's get started. Alright, do we get the subs out of the way first? Let's see, how many tiers do we need for this shit? Probably need a lot. Limited use only. This is our trash. Then we have situational use. Good. Great. I want to label these better. And I'll shoot top tier, you just can't use... If you don't throw it, it's top tier. Let's see. Oh yeah, don't worry, I'll move you guys in the actual tier list. So, let's see, situational use, this is good niche. So things they're actually good at. This is generally good. Great subs. And top tier. We'll just call it top tier, it'll be simple. Alright. Wait, is line marker not in? Oh no, it's here. I forget. Okay. Twitch subs are pretty good. Okay, so realistically, the only bottom tier subs are Line Marker and Toxic Mist. And honestly, I wouldn't even put an order between these two, which should just speak to how bad both of them are. Line Marker is a very limited use but cheap combo sub that can locate people decently. It's fine for some weapons like Bucket that do have a situational combo, but for everything else they're on, just is not worth the ink cost. Toxic Mist provides a slowdown effect, but not only is this effect very minimal, it uses a good portion of your ink tank, it provides no paint or damage, and most importantly, Squid Roll just absolutely cancels almost all of the mist effect out. It's a sub that was weak in Splatoon 2, and Squid Roll and indirect changes making special economy more important have only made it worse, to the point where I think it's almost worthless in most situations. Okay, let's talk about the useful subs. Sprinkler. It can paint and maybe occasionally meat shield. It doesn't paint very well, and it decays a lot, so it doesn't paint over time, which is the thing it's supposed to do, but at least it helps paint for a special, which is kind of nice. Point sensor. In this game, locating people becomes more important because Ninja Squid and there's less ink armor. Oh, fuck. Well, ink armor is okay. Point sensor is pretty okay. Locating people is actually reasonably helpful, and the sub is both so cheap and has such a wide area that it's near impossible for it to actually miss the opponent. If Ninja Squid gets nerfed or we get better maps where point sensor isn't as helpful, then it will definitely drop. But for now, with some of the weaker maps and Ninja Squid being decently common, it has its uses for sure. I think that's everything I'd put in this tier. I think everything else is better. Let me see. How's the tier list affect Fortnite's legacy? Oh yeah, for a second I thought I was still muted. Good. Oh, wait. Nope, there is one more thing. I'm actually gonna put Curling Bomb down here. I mean, it's nice for Roller to be able to move, but even then, while not as good, Fizzy can provide a path to move in. I think Curling Bomb is the one bomb that's insanely underpowered. Like, it just helps you move, and for most weapons, they have decent enough mobility to where it's not worth the ink cost, and even then a Curling Bomb moves about the same speed as maximum swim speed, so it's not even that fast anyway. If you're a roller player, it's nice to have this sub, but I struggle to think of many other weapons that actually want it, and I think any weapon would rather have Fizzy. Okay, now we can get to Ganesh. Ink Mine is actually a really good sub. I honestly debated putting it even higher. The ability to locate people has gotten more useful in this game. The traps on the limited flanks of these maps make them even better because people are more likely to run into them. The main thing is the sub is just kind of weapon dependent, because if you're a weapon that doesn't have a lot of range and needs a poking tool, then mine isn't good for you. But as we've seen with Flingza and E-Liter, when weapons don't actually need that, they end up being a massive help in a number of different ways. And I actually kind of like the sub right now. Yeah, Chara, thank you for 100 bits. Do you ever plan on doing another music tier list? Eventually, when we get all of them. I will do a tier list on every song all over again, including all of threes. It will take like 5 hours, but I do plan to eventually do it. Do I think Wall is great? Yes, I'll actually, yes. I think only, okay. And the only other bomb I think fits here is Auto Bomb. It's another one of the weaker bombs, but still pretty good. Locating people is nice, and it does have a lethal radius to control some space, even if it's really minor, and it's a very cheap sub. It does have a bit of recovery lag frames, whiting frames before you can recover your ink, but it's pretty easy to use for more ink-hungry weapons, so I think it has its uses. I do think it suffers a bit from light offset. Outside of that, though, I don't think it's anything super exceptional, and it doesn't have the same threat as other bombs, even Torpedo, which also specializes in locating stuff, so that's why I think it's only here. Let's see. Alright, great subs. First, we have Torpedo. This is basically a better version of Autobomb. It's a bit more expensive, but you're able to roll or bounce the sub for quick combo damage that can also function as a good get-off-me tool. It paints a bit better when it does explode, and just in general has more varied uses, even if it's not as lethal. Damaging objects is the only situation where Autobomb actually does it better, because it can Autobomb is a bit better at damaging HP specials or the Rainmaker shield, but even then that's not enough of a reason for Torpedo to be any lower. I can say that better. The only thing Torpedo lacks is it doesn't do too much damage to objects, so that keeps it from being a bit higher, and also some weapons like Splash or normal shooters don't have to worry about it as much due to their fast fire rate. Do I think Suction Bomb's only this good? That would be a hot take. I'm gonna put Suction Bomb down here. I think since it doesn't do 220 damage anymore, it's not really the most insane shredder, and with more mobility options in the game, I think it's honestly not as good at walling out positions. It's still a very good sub, it does quick damage, it can pain, it can control some space, but I don't think it's to the point as being as good as the other bombs, and I'll talk about that later. No, actually this makes perfect sense. This is totally true. We'll get to that, though, when I talk about Splat Bomb. Splash Wall, I'd say, is benefiting from the meta a bit. It's something I'll have to talk about in my main weapons tier list, but there's a lot of Splash, which has a lot of Burst Bomb, and this is the main thing that's good at dealing with Burst Bomb, because Burst Bomb cannot break Splash Wall at all, and so it leaves only the main weapon, which is usually a bit weaker. Even outside of that, though, being able to have a shield you can play around to control space, especially in the more limited and hallway type maps, is very useful, so I think Splash Wall is nice right now. It still can be a bit of a problem when you're locked out and it doesn't help you take as much space, so something like 52 might struggle to get its special more, but that's really the only major flaw it has. And finally, here is Beacon. I do think Beacon is weaker on some maps like Maki and Brinewater just because they're a bit smaller, but as a whole, I think the ability to super jump in safely is more valuable in this game. But as a whole, the ability to super jump in safely is more valuable in this game, the location effect it provides is more valuable, and I think if it were on better weapons, we would honestly see a Beacon weapon in more comps. Sensor above Mist? Dude, I debated having Mist below Line Marker. Mist is fucking awful. Mist is a terrible sub-weapon that can't even do the thing it's supposed to be good at. It's just not worth the ink cost. Maybe they'll just make this thing really cheap. I don't know. Like, make it like Torpedo. Make it really cheap, but you can only have one of them out at a time. That might honestly be a cool buff idea. I don't know. Burst Bomb is our first top tier bomb. This is cheap, quick, and effective. It can be useful to paint yourself or paint over enemies, do nice damage, and just in general is very versatile and very easy to throw out. It does a lot of different things. Its only real weakness is damaging objects. That is really about it. Fizzy Bomb does have a bit of a weakness with the whole charge mechanic because it does take a little bit to get the bomb off, but it has incredible versatility. The 35 damage makes it more effective as a combo tool. The explosion for multiple times walls out space for longer. It paints very well. It has a trail to move in. It does good object damage. You can run 2 of them if you have last-ditch effort. It's just really versatile. It's a really good sub, and even with the added whiting frames they gave it, I still think it's one of the better subs in the game. That being said, Splat Bomb is... Oh my god, I never put Twitch chat. I never moved you guys. You're not going to be here for this. Oh my god, chat. You're going to be missed. And you're not going to be in the video. I'm sorry, chat. Unless if there's some editor magic I'm not aware of. You guys are out of the supplements. Okay, anyway. Splat Bomb is probably the best sub in the game. It does a lot of things Suction Bomb does, but it blows up faster, even if it's a slightly smaller radius. It being rolled is one of the best, if not the greatest, get-off-me tool in the game, which is useful if you're being dived. And there's ads. Okay, we gotta wait a second. We'll redo this for Twitch chat. Okay, can you guys see again? Guys, I'm waiting. You're not going to shit. I waited. Okay, ad done? Okay. Splat Bomb is the best sub in the game right now. It is great for a get-off-me tool and in general for comboing due to its quick explosion time, but unlike Burst Bomb, it maintains a lethal threat, is still good at damaging objects, and still paints very well, just like... well, it already paints well. Fuck. And it, of course, still paints well like the other top-tier bombs. There's just no real situation where this bomb is bad at, and the usefulness it has works with pretty much every weapon in the game. It's one of the best subs you can ask for. Alright, this feels actually perfectly accurate. Like, I actually have no issues with this tier list. This actually just feels correct. I don't think there's anything I would change. I think we actually got this perfectly right. Alright. We'll get the image for later. Special weapons. Why are they all in X tier? Who did this? They're wrong. Actually, this is my list. Why are they all there, though? I never put them all in X. Okay. We'll just top tier. Very strong. Situational. Very limited. Bad. Or too vulnerable. This is spelled right? I think it is. And we shouldn't need these two. Very strong. Sorry, this should be useful, not situational. This is going to be situational. Okay. Do we do bottom to top again? I'm so sorry. Well, there's only one special that goes there, so I mean. Actually, I'm gonna call this. Fuck. I deleted it. It's gonna be limited but useful. Did I just delete both? Limited but useful. Limited but has uses. And then this one is too vulnerable. Okay. Special weapons. Let's start with the worst one. It's the shark. So they buff this thing so it can't be parried. Cool, you can still just walk out of the way easier. And it breaks objects better now. Cool, but a lot of other specials do that better. This is supposed to be a repositioning tool or a potential aggressive option, but 60 damage isn't as great a combo number for the outside hit. The inside hit is way too small. The special has a lot of startup and end lag in which you have no iframes afterward, which I think is fair, but in this case you're just so vulnerable that you get punished way too easily, especially since you don't actually heal between starting it and ending it. So if you Reef Slider and someone hits you even a little bit, like say they do 30 damage, you will now have 70 HP when you explode, can't move, and then you die. I think the best use this has is to try to reposition, but even then you'll have to be on a really mobile weapon to even activate this in a safe spot anyway, and there's just other specials that do the whole approaching from a weird angle thing way better. That's the only special I think is bad. I actually think Ultra Stamp is kind of okay. It needs to be on a super mobile weapon to use it from good angles, and the main problem is that the rush mode is just terrible. You have to get way too close to people and have way too little protection to the point where most good players can just easily punish it, but at least that mode is nice at breaking objects, which, while it still requires you to get close to them, can be somewhat useful. The throw mode is also actually good. It does great. Object damage is nice for threatening people and relatively safe, and you can do it quickly if you need an ink tank refill, so that part about the special is nice. I think due to the high amount of HP specials right now, it's in a better spot than it would be normally, but if HP specials get toned back, then Stamp is only going to get worse. This is your Rainmaker special. If you want to be able to play Rainmaker more aggressively, this is typically something you'll run because the swim speed, run speed, ink resistance, quick respawn, and special saver are all especially useful for the Rainmaker carrier, and in general, Rainmaker prioritizes very fast comps that can move in quickly, and I think Tacticooler is best on comps like that. Outside of that, the special doesn't help you approach as much as it seems. It takes away your ability to hide at all for a long period of time, and most importantly, it forces your entire team to come to one area to grab the drinks. And forcing everyone to clump up all together is more of a weakness than people think it is, especially in coordinated play. Natsuka. Is vacuum here or here? Situational. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of too. Okay. So, ink vacuum is only this low, and first off I want to talk about what the special's bad at. While it's popped, it does not have the ability to paint or do damage. And what does this mean for something like a charger is that if you have a weapon that's supposed to be kind of like a crossfire weapon, then you lose the crossfire to vacuum. And because you're also losing a player, there's only 3 people to take advantage of the vacuum, which means the effect it has needs to be really worth it. And while in some situations it can be nice to help get the Rainmaker to a lead or to protect someone on the tower, but there are oftentimes better options. Big Bubbler can protect the tower without taking up a teammate slot. And in Rainmaker, oftentimes it's better to use a special that will actually fight the enemies and keep them away that way rather than protect the Rainmaker. That all being said, there is definitely still use cases. It can be nice against a few specials, like to stall a tiny bit of crab to force Booyah to be thrown at a bit of a weirder angle, etc. So it does have a few things it is good at and can be worth it in the right environment. That being said, those situations are still very limited, and outside of those, it's not really worth running one. Do you have its own tier and call it Big Swig? Oh, we'll talk about Big Swig. We'll get there. It might actually have its own tier. It's that extreme a weapon that I might honestly give it its own tier. But we'll get there when we get there. Inkjet also goes here. The main problem Inkjet has right now is that, one, it's very vulnerable, so it's very easy to cancel, but the other problem is its damage is pathetic. This thing is like a 4-shot versus Crab, and being bad versus Crab right now is not good. The ability to shred HP specials is incredibly important for a lot of specials that don't give HP, and stuff like Zuka does it very well. Hell, even Crab does it very well, but this special is just terrible at being able to fight other specials. It still does provide unique angles of attack. It's more consistent now that bomb defense doesn't work against it like it did in Splatoon 2. So it's overall okay, and I don't think the recall is as big a weakness as it used to be in Splatoon 2 since you can use it more aggressively, but it is still a problem. Big Swig is worse than Undercover. It's definitely not worse than Undercover. That's going too far. I think that's everything for this tier. I think... Maybe? This is a tough one. I think it's still situational. I don't think it's better. But I don't think it's that much better now. I don't think I'd put it that high yet. Also, did I forget to move chat again? No, chat's in the right spot. Okay. I'm gonna put Zip in situational, but it's honestly pretty close to being higher. A little bit of extra main weapon efficiency that they gave it in this patch does help a lot. It's still, of course, very vulnerable. You don't have a lot of time in the special. You have to recall, which is a problem for it. But as a whole, I think it is nice to be able to take an alternate angle versus Crab. And in particular, this gives something like And in particular, it gives something like Stamper the ability to shred them more easily, or something like Bucket the ability to attack the person riding it more, which I do think is pretty valuable, and alternate angles are always nice in this game. If you had just a little bit more time with the special, or a little bit more of an ability to do things... Now, what do I want with this thing? If you had a little bit more time with the special that just activate on your side, the problem is when you recall, you're not in the fight. The problem is when you recall, you're not fighting. You're out of the fight. If you wait out a Zipcaster, the second it recalls, the other team then pushes and fights you while that person is recalling and then swimming back. Especially if it's on your side of the base, because then you have to swim back farther. That's the problem with recall weapons. Like, that's the weakness of a recall. You have forced downtime when the special's over before you go and pack things again. Personally, I think Zipcaster's recall time, well, I don't know. I know they just gave you more time in the special, but I think it could use a little bit more, or something to help it go for targets. Maybe like thermaling to see people through walls, kind of like spider sense. It's an idea I got from... God, where did I put it? Hold up. I can... Who gave me this idea? Yeah. I saw an idea to buff Zipcaster by giving it Spider Sense, basically the Stingray Thermal Ink from Splatoon 2. And I think between that and maybe just a little bit more time in the special, it could definitely be higher. And I think with that and a little bit more time in the special, it could be higher. But right now, the time you have is still pretty limited. You're still very vulnerable. The recall is still a big weakness. And targeting and killing people can be difficult depending on your comp you're fighting, because some comps don't have a weapon that's easily diveable. Okay, I think from here, everything else is, like, useful or better. How good do I think Whale is? So, Bubble's the weakest... Sorry. So, Bubble's the weirdest thing to rank in this list, because if Crab weren't broken, it would go from here to here. The only reason Bubble is this low is because Crab is such a hard counter to Bubble, and it uses weapons that push the Bubble weapons out of the meta. That's literally it. It is a shield that has way too much HP, has the ability to give you jumps. On tower, you can put it on a moving objective, and it just takes up so many resources while still not taking up a player slot like Ink Vacuum does. You have a shield plus 4 players. I think when they eventually tone back Crab, if this isn't also somewhat nerfed, it might be a problem in a future meta, honestly. But as of right now, because there's a bunch of double Crab comps, this thing just absolutely gets shredded. I think Killer Whale is fine. It does track people, which is very useful. It's one of the only specials with global range, and overall, I think it's very strong. Don't put that in. Not overall, it's very strong. That's not true. I do think people are fine. I do think people are getting better at knowing how to move when they're targeted by Whale, so it isn't displacing people as much. And even for the stuff it's supposed to be good against, like Crab, can just strafe to the side in a lot of situations to avoid it. So I think the things it counters, it doesn't hard counter, only soft counters, which is nice. It just means it's not going to go any higher. But I think it's in a good spot right now still. Inkstorm is good at what it does. It's another special where I think its balance is pretty perfect right now. It has the longest duration out of any displacement special, but it also has the weakest power to move people. It's more of a gradual area control type special. Being able to both paint and damage a pretty reasonable area for 8 seconds is really nice, and if you have players who are good at capitalizing on that, Inkstorm can gain a lot of space. but it does still require a good bit of commitment and isn't as strong when used on its own. It's very dependent on having a plan in order to get value with it. And it's also worth noting, while it does have the ability to move some specials, which is nice to damage the Crab Rider, the ball form is still very effective against it and means Crab doesn't have to completely move out of the area an Inkstorm is in. Trizuka, I think I would also put here. It does have good DPS for dealing with stuff like Crab and HP specials, but you have to be a reasonable distance away from people, your mobility is decently lowered, and you only have 3 shots, which is difficult to get consistent value out of, which means sometimes the special just does honestly near nothing. I could see it being higher as Zuka players get better with it because this is the special with the highest skill ceiling, but at the point we're at right now, I think people are getting better at avoiding it and keeping the Zuka from doing things better than the Zuka players are getting better at trying to get more unique angles where they could reliably hit people in key positions. I so want to put Tri-Strike up here. I think Tri-Strike is pretty underrated. I do wish the strikes deployed a little bit faster or throwing them was a little bit faster because some... Okay. I think Tri-Strike is underrated. I do wish the strike throw time was a little bit faster because trying to hit something like a crab is a little bit too difficult, but it is really good at dealing with HP specials since you don't need all 3 strikes to break them. The user is also fairly vulnerable while throwing them, but I actually like that part of the special design. Maybe they could make you run a little bit faster, but I'm one of the people who doesn't want them to give it squid form. I think for the most part, just allowing the strikes to get to their location a bit faster so it can be more reliable against HP specials is the main thing it needs. Outside of that, it provides a lot of displacement, it provides paint, it can eat bombs, and it's overall just a really useful special that you can throw quickly and immediately start farming, so it's also not hard to get a lot of them, especially with T-Tech. Now we got our top 4. Booyah Bomb. I think this special is starting to fall off a little bit. The addition of T-Tech is really good because Tri-Strike is one of the better counters to Booyah Bomb, and Booyah Bomb cannot be mash booyahed since the patch, which means that was the only way to escape something like a Tri-Strike or it being shredded because you could booyah really fast. But now because there's a hard limit, it is much easier to shut it down if you have the jump on it. That being said, the ability to both function to give you HP, which is very strong right now, and a displacement special that is good against other HP specials or getting your team back in are very strong traits. And even though I think it's gotten slightly worse, it still easily belongs in this tier. Wavebreaker is also in this tier, but if Splash had even a small weakness to jumping, I would honestly put it up here. Wavebreaker is very close to being a top tier special. It might not look that threatening, but remember, like with Big Bubbler, this is essentially just an extra thing on the map that has a ton of range, a location, and a damage effect that affects the enemy's movement, forcing them to either jump or get hit. It is very valuable in team fights, very easy to set up, and ultimately something that I think we're going to see a lot more of. And it's solid against HP specials due to the ability to hit someone like the Crab riding it, or hit the Big Bubble and have a big multiplier against it. And just in general, I think it is a massively underrated special. Do I think missiles are still top tier? I think missiles are still here. They're less spammable, which made me debate it a little bit, but still, imagine if there were 2 missile weapons that could be ran at the same time. You would totally still see double missile anywhere, and that to me is a good marker of a top tier. It is still global range that provides great damage per second, is the only special that can deploy is the only special that can displace 4 people, is very fast to actually use. You have good mobility while the special is activated since you're able to swim and squid roll. It's just in general still very strong, and we are still seeing Flingzas despite it being a 210p weapon that just got its spammability nerfed. And I think if they ever put missile onto a shooter, dually, or Splatana, double missile will in fact be meta. Displacement at top level is so important. Teams are so good at holding positions. Teams are very good at controlling space. And Missile's ability to move them, locate, just do all the stuff I mentioned previously is so strong right now. That being said, Crab is still better. Crab is the most broken special in the game right now. It is just too good at everything it does. It lasts like 9 seconds. You have like 500 HP. It activates nearly instantly. It has practically no end lag. It has good range. It can hit behind cover. It has good damage per second. It just does so many things. Yes, the rider is vulnerable, but that's not going to matter on a lot of maps where you can keep people away from you and where you absolutely shred everything. And on top of that, you can just go into ball form to be able to stall. And you have 500 HP. Booyah Bomb is 470. You have more HP than a Booyah Bomb. Crab's design ensures that there's decent counterplay, but the special's attributes are just so overtuned right now that even with that counterplay existing, the special's still easily the best in the game, is good in pretty much any situation, deals with pretty much any special well, and is especially good on the more limited options to move these maps have. Yeah, this also feels very accurate. I'm gonna just make sure I spelled this right. Yep, I did. Awesome. I wouldn't give it end lag. I don't really like to give things lag. I think the main thing is HP and duration need to be toned back. Like, it needs to be toned back. No, Crab has never been nerfed. Stealth jump is better. You need stealth on these maps. Okay. And that leads us to this. Instant activation on Crab is okay. Yes, for standard fire, you shouldn't be able to instant activate it and go into ball form. Do you think Nintendo will give Splat 3 dedicated servers? No. I don't think the online's gonna get any better until the next game. I hope I'm wrong. I could be, but I don't know. Alright though, that's gonna wrap it up for this part. We'll be getting to all the main weapons next time, so I'll see y'all there. Okay, that is the recording done. Do I actually want to talk about main weapons? How many tiers am I even gonna want on this thing? Let me see. Let me drag out like one weapon in each tier. What's like noticeably worse than this? Like this. This. Can, whereas this thing can get out of the way. The tier. I can get another tier going. Like this. This. And like this. This might be enough tiers. I think. I think this looks like enough. Yo, what's up, Dapple? And Flash. We have just ranked all the sub-weapons, all the special weapons, and we're about to do the behemoth. And I'm kind of just laying out how many tiers I'll need and what I need to label them. We'll call this needs major buffs. Also, yes, undercover will be its own tier. I'll say that now. This is gonna be its own tier. Oh yeah, right. I was supposed to give Big Swig its own tier. Do I actually want to do that? Do I actually need to create its own tier for Big Swig? Yeah, I think I kind of do. We'll talk about this. This will get its own thing. Big Swig will get its own tier. Like, actually, it kind of deserves its own tier, because it just... this fucking thing. Big Swig. We'll just call it Big Swig. I'll just leave this in here and we'll get to it. We'll just get to this later. So this is... I'll rename this later, but for now, I'll just keep it as X. We're gonna rename this tier later, okay? Rename at the end. We'll rename this tier later. This will be top tiers. Pretty self-explanatory. Well, this is like close to top tiers. I want to set top tier. These are both top tier. So let me do like... Why is range... Oh, we'll get to that. Best... We'll call this best at their job. Top tiers. Dominant niche. Good niche. Big Swig will stay as Big Swig. We'll give this its special color too. We'll make it purple. Big Swig gets his own color. We'll talk about you later. Call this limited. Because this is very limited. Outclassed / weak. And needs major buffs is totally fair. Look, it's all colorful now. We'll make Big Swig pink. How about that? Big Swig gets to be pink. Do we like the Big Swig color? Does that look like a good Big Swig color? This will be its own fucking thing. we'll get to this shit. Okay, we'll drag this all back down now. Except for Big Swig. Big Swig can just stay here. We'll get to you, Big Swig. We'll get to you. Okay. Is chat in a good spot? Put Chalik here. Let me put this like here. Yeah, I really like the addition of the Big Swig tier. I like that Big Swig is just here. In his own tier. This is so funny that this actually fits. Get ad blocker. I know. Well, I have ad blocker. It just doesn't work on this site. Nova should be there too. No, Nova's actually like... Nova's better than people think. We'll talk about that. But Big Swig is just big. Big Swig is a thing. Do I want to separate outclassed and weak into 2 tiers? I don't think I do, actually. Nah, everything, a lot of it will be here. Okay. Oh, boy. Okay, I'm gonna rest my voice for a second in preparation. You block Origin? I have water. Water is not enough for what we're gonna deal with today. I will. Alright. Alright, everyone, it's time to rank every main weapon in the game from worst to best. So, we're gonna get started. This is from a pro player's perspective. This is competitive, not solo queue. Solo queue would look incredibly different. So, with that old disclaimer thing out of the way, play what you like, subscribe if you enjoy. Let's go. The first weapon to get its own tier is the Undercover Umbrella. This thing has way too weak damage, it doesn't have any presence on the map, it is a kit that absolutely doesn't work for it. Mine is not good on a weapon like this, and Reef Slider has way too much vulnerability on a weapon that already can't kill quickly and capitalize off the slider's damage effectively. It's just overall an incredibly weak weapon that isn't good at doing anything, and even the shield, while somewhat useful, just came at the sacrifice of like every other stat in the game. Would you give a splatter shot a 200 HP shield and nerf all of its stats by like a third or a fourth? Probably not. And that's what Undercover is. Poor H3. The main weapon got worse in this game because mobility has become more important and become better, which means H3 has a harder time hitting things. It has point sensor, which doesn't do much for it, and Tacticooler is for aggressive weapons and mobile weapons, and H3 is neither of these. I don't really know why they chose this special to go with the weapon. It doesn't really synergize with comps that want Tacticooler, and Tacticooler's best mode is Rainmaker, the worst mode for H3, and point sensor. The entire thing is a travesty. The weapon is just absolutely screwed until it gets another kit. Rip H3. Splattershot Pro's vanilla kit now has a 190p crab. It is still just absolutely outclassed. It doesn't really do anything well enough to cover comps like Jack of all trades weapon should. Angle Shooter is still the worst sub in the game. There are still better crab options that can do things Pro wants to do better. There's just not really a reason to run this weapon in a team comp. See, I don't want to scroll down because I'm going to feel for my editor who's going to have to like recrop the tier list every time I scroll, but I also can't see any other weapon. Wait, I can zoom out. See, editors, I know the fucking life. I know what to do to help you. Well, let's see. What's all the stuff that's going in this tier? Brella will go in this tier. This one will go in this tier. Well, Jet? Move the chat? No, I'm gonna resize it. I'm just moving these up so I don't have to scroll the screen. So you'll be fine, don't worry. Arrow will go here. I think that's everything that goes in this tier, actually. I think that's actually everything. Yeah. Okay. See? No scroll needed. I saved my editor hours. Let's go. Yay. Okay. Aerospray doesn't really work with Reef Slider. I see what they were trying to do, especially now that Reef Slider can pop the Rainmaker shield in one hit if it has no damage on it, but as a whole, it's still a weapon that doesn't synergize well with Reef Slider. This one has even less damage to combo off of than the Undercover Umbrella does. Aerospray at least... Fizzy Bomb is okay for it. The main weapon kills very slowly for its range value, even if all the shots hit, and is just very limited. It's built to be a support, but it doesn't have a good support kit. It has a Reef Slider. Dapple is pretty solid with Torpedo. You could argue maybe this is a Rainmaker weapon. Actually, with the the Rainmaker argument might be enough to move it up. Okay, I'm not going to put that here, actually. Yeah, Barella will go here too. Even outside of the bugs where the shield barely even works, the weapon does very low damage. Its sub-weapon doesn't help it at all. It's very ink-hungry. Its paint is bad. Its ink efficiency is bad. Actually, why don't I wish I had my quote about Brella. Hold up. I'm getting my quote about Brella. Hold up, we're finding this. I have a quote on this weapon. I have a Christmas ad, but you guys don't have to hear it. Oh, it's 2 ads and they're not skippable. Did I link the tweet? I didn't link the tweet. Yeah, we're gonna have to screenshot and open this in a new tab. There we go. Here's my quote about Brellas in terrible quality Twitter screenshot. Brella is good. You just have to make up for the damage to objects, the ink efficiency, the speed, the kill time, the range, the paint, the sub-weapon, the special output, the downtime, fighting most special weapons, fighting area of effect weapons, fighting charger bow and splatanas, and the fact that it doesn't work 90% of the time. There's some small exaggeration there. Obviously, I'm poking fun at the weapon, but it's not exactly wrong. Overall, there's just, like, overall, the actual shielding capability of the Brella, even when it works, just isn't really that worth it, and most of the good options in this game just have either the mobility, the damage, or even the special that absolutely deals with Brella way too well. And I think this weapon just is in need of major damage buffs. All the Brellas are, but especially this one really needs to have some shrinks here. Could also benefit from being 190p. Pigeon with another 10 subs. Jesus Christ, dude. Yo, much appreciated. Can we get a W for Pigeon in the chat? Alright, now I gotta pick out all the weapons for this tier. The Stamp Luna? The Luna? The Dapple? The Range Blaster? The Sploosh? The Aerospray? The Jet Squelcher? The 96 Gal? The Clash Blaster? Could H3 be good with a good kit? Yes. But it needs, like, it needs stuff that'll make it not explode. Oh, I forgot L3. L3 also goes in this tier. Oops, well, we'll rank that. Carbon would be here. Actually, Carbon would be in this tier, too. I forgot 2 weapons. That's okay. Dynamo would go in that tier next. Pencil is going in this tier. Blob is going in this tier. Mini is going in this tier. Dapple is going in this tier. Actually, Dapple might be in good niche. Yeah, actually, Dapple will wait. We'll get to you. Tent will be in this tier. And Reflux will be in this tier. Okay, 2 more weapons. L3 is another weapon that just doesn't really have a reason to be picked for Crab. It lacks a bomb. The curling isn't super useful for it because it doesn't struggle too much with mobility. It does have a bit better paint range than something like a Splash, but ultimately that's just not great a reason, and the mobility overall in this weapon still is a bit problematic compared to just how good shooter mobility is in this game. And without main power-up, the damage it has is actually pretty weak as well, so that's yet another problem for this weapon. What else did I forget that goes in this tier? Honestly, does Luna go here? No, Luna is fizzy. Luna can't go here. What else did I say? I said 2 things would go in this tier. What else did I say would go in this tier? Carbon, right? Oh, yeah. Actually, no, even Carbon can go 1 up. Even Carbon can go 1 up, I think. Alright, next up is limited. These are weapons that do have some form of a niche, but the niche they have isn't good enough to really actually be worth using outside of incredibly limited situations. First up is Reflux and Gold Aerospray, because these two are the same weapon. They are painters with good paint, but no painting range, a sub-weapon that applies no pressure, and a special they want to spam. They are great in Turf War, but bad in ranked modes because you need to put pressure out while you're farming and trying to spam the special. And on top of that, both of these specials got weaker to spam in this update because Booyah Bomb got more vulnerability and Missiles is now worse specifically at spamming it, which is really bad because this is the main thing it's supposed to do. Both of these have main weapons that are too weak at fighting and subs that do not do any poking power, and so for the most part they do not apply enough pressure to sustain themselves in higher level environments. Oh yeah, wait, oh, I forgot another weapon. Yeah, we gotta put this here too. I almost forgot Forge. It almost got away, but I remembered it. Blob's main job is controlling space right now, and it does have decent damage per second, but again, struggles a lot from the mobility, the sub doesn't put too much pressure, and honestly, the sub and special are both mainly paint orientated, which kind of locks Blob in. It doesn't give it a lot of versatility, so it also makes the weapon extremely comp dependent to make up for its weaknesses, and the strengths it has just aren't as worth it right now as other weapons. Clash and both Luna Blasters are things you would argue for short-range tower control maps you could maybe see, but ultimately there are better niches in that mode. Clash's kill time is ultimately too weak, Luna Neo Special doesn't synergize with it as well, and for the normal Luna Blaster there are just better Zipcaster options even on this mode. All of these weapons have a decent bit of paint and special output problems even with 180p, to where I think they're not really worth picking too much right now. Sploosh is a Rainmaker weapon, but Curling Bomb isn't that good on Rainmaker. Sploosh 7 was really nice because of the Splat Bomb, and this weapon ultimately can't really do as well on Rainmaker as it did in the second game. I do think with an alternate kit it could be a lot higher. Sploosh is still very mobile and does very good damage, but there's just other options that do better damage, especially since Splatana Wiper was added, which also has good Rainmaker shield damage, has a better bomb, and still has Stamp. If it wasn't for the insane mobility of the main weapon, it would honestly be down here just because Wiper exists, but at least it's way faster. Vanilla Jet and 96 are both kind of supportive long to mid range weapons with a vacuum. Both their subs are way too weak for the weapon right now, and ultimately the weapons struggle to kill because of how fast paced the game is, and vacuum isn't as valuable a special right now because it's very situational. And if you're going to have a situational special, there are just better options for the main weapon to use. Dynamo Roller also kind of suffers from the H3 problem where the main mode you'd want a Tacticooler in is Rainmaker, the worst mode for Dynamo. Sprinkler is at least a bit better on this weapon because it can help it move by painting its feet, and the overall paint output is more valuable on this weapon because of how it plays. But ultimately, the main weapon is really weak, doesn't paint that well, has a lot of downtime, and its kit isn't the greatest right now balance-wise, even if it can work with the weapon, and the main mode where you would want the special just doesn't work for it either. Mini Spalling is a good main weapon with a good sub-weapon, but I don't think the special... I have to move chat. Why? How did chat... No, chat's here. It's in a good spot. What? Okay, anyway. Mini Splalling's a pretty good main weapon with a good sub and special, but I think the special doesn't really work super well with Mini, and Stamp is also just a bit too vulnerable. You're not really going to be running up close to someone with a Mini. You're going to be taking advantage of the fact that you have more range than short-range shooters, and kind of spacing them out with your mobility. The Stamp and the main weapon kind of clash a little bit, and unless if the special gets a lot stronger, it doesn't really work for the weapon right now. Chat is in the way. I guess it kind of covers it. Sure, we'll move chat up for a second. Sure. I see. I guess that covers it a bit. Dapple Doolies. The only reason this isn't in... The only reason I'm putting Dapple Doolies outside the outclassed tier is because the damage per second to the Rainmaker shield is actually useful, and with the slider buffs, it is better as a special in Rainmaker. That being said, I think it's still not great, and Torpedo's worst mode is Rainmaker, so it still doesn't have full kit synergy. If it had a more lethal bomb, I could maybe see it being higher, but in this case, not really. Tenebrola is pretty good at protecting people. I think this is the best main weapon synergy-wise with chat higher. You guys are fine. I think Tenebrola actually has a very synergistic kit. I like Beacon with it to make it a support, and I think Vacuum in conjunction with the Tent Shield can actually make you very difficult to kill. It can cover your blind spot or prevent things from Splatanas from getting close enough to kill you in the Vacuum. The main issue is that a lot of the good specials right now can just absolutely destroy the Tent Shield. Stuff like Crab and Booyah Bomb are good examples of that, and there are also more new weapons like Splatanas that absolutely shred the Tent Shield. The damage it outputs isn't great, and the shield is unusually inconsistent and has a lot of shield launch bugs, which those combined just make the weapon way too inconsistent to be worth it. I think maybe we could see it in Clam Blitz, and I could maybe see it being up here for a Clam Blitz niche, maybe, but I just don't think this is the right meta for it right now. If Forge Pro was not 210 here, it could be here and actually have a niche for a shooter that can get a reliable amount of Booyah Bombs. But it doesn't, so it is just a pro with a better kit. But it's still a pro. All the problems I mentioned in my Splattershot Pro video are still present, and it actually struggles with special output even more than the Vanilla Pro because, again, 210. Why is it 210? I do not understand. The 210p. I think the pencil as a main weapon is actually a lot better than people give it credit for. The ability to hold multiple shots and just kind of strafe around and threaten people with them is kind of useful. The weapon's still a bit awkward, but I think that's mostly for it being new. The actual reason it's down here is honestly the kit. Sprinkler doesn't do too much for it, and Tacticooler, again, best for Rainmaker, is on a weapon with pitifully bad object damage, which, by the way, I don't know why this thing has bad object damage, but it is the main thing also holding the main weapon back, because with Object Shredder, it is a 10-shot versus Crab. Why? Why is it so bad at breaking objects? Between that and the kit, it is held back by the dumbest things. With a better kit and object damage, it could be way, way higher. So much potential in this weapon. Carbon is your zipcaster weapon that can reliably and quickly one-shot people. But outside of that, it's going to take a while to get a zipcaster, the sub isn't great for it, and Carbon Deco exists with basically the perfect kit for this weapon. No, I'm gonna put range higher. I don't care. It's gonna be range blaster main bias, but it's not this bad. It's bad, but it's not this bad. Alright. Oh yeah, Big Swig. So you guys might have noticed that there's a separate Big Swig tier. And, well, that's because Big Swig is the weirdest weapon they put in this game, to where, like, it can paint something so effectively that on some zones map, it can basically solo hold it and change how the enemy team plays. I don't know if it'd actually be super effective at this. It's still too early to say, but it basically has massive potential for zone cheese. Reflux can too? No, Reflux does not have the painting range this thing has. This weapon has good paint, good painting range, good burst paint. It is the best paint in the game, and it's fairly ink efficient as well. And then it can use vacuum to stall out zones or other specials as an ink tank refill to then continue painting and stalling. We will see some Japanese team try to cheese zones because Japan loves to try to cheese zones. In the West, nobody's going to play this thing, but people will in Japan. So that being said, it's at a weird part of being the best at its job for cheesing zones, but that's kind of a niche it's more dominant in, but at the same time it's so outclassed and weak that it's absolutely terrible everything else, so I just gave up and I gave it a big swig tier because it looks funny. You could argue, I guess, it would go here, you could argue it'd go here, you could argue it'd go here. It's dumb. The weapon is absolutely pathetic in every other mode. It is only good at cheesing zones. It is only good because of the paint output. It is so weird. Big swig in its own tier. Big swig moment. Yeah, woo! Big swig. Okay. Do I have more water or am I out of water? I am out of water. Almost. I have like one more sip. All right. Actually, am I done with this tier? Am I really done with this tier? Yeah, I'm done with this tier, I think. Okay, what's next? Rapid. The other Rapid. Range Blaster. Nova. Zap. Brush Nouveau. GooTuber. Tri-Slosher. Ballpoint Splatling. Hydra Splatling. Dapple Doolies. And Galugadoolies. I think that's all the ones I would put. Whereas Nautilus? Nautilus is good. We will talk about that soon. I can't really move chat up anymore, so I'm just gonna move it down. We're gonna put you guys here. Am I skipping? Wait, is my audio quality messed up? Does my audio sound fine? Or am I like, is it cutting or anything? Audio's fine? Okay, good, because otherwise that's a big problem. Okay. So we've gone through all the low tiers, or mid tiers, or however you want. Well, this is probably like mid tier now. I don't know. I don't like using those terms, but I also still like using those terms. That makes sense, right, guys? Okay. So I'm going to go through the good niche tier very quickly. These are weapons that have a niche that isn't super needed, but they're good at doing their job. Mid-range poke damage with displacement that's a bit too vulnerable and takes a bit too long to get it special. Mid-range poke that doesn't really have a good sub-weapon at all and a very situational special, but can be more useful for protecting itself or the objective on modes like tower control and splat zones. Range actually requires a bit more, we'll talk about it. Weapon that's very good against short range, but suffers from not having a sub-weapon and a special weapon that's very limited. Your long-range inkjet niche. Really good against weapons that require location, can move very fast, keep frequent paint, and gets whales for entry tools, but is limited at fighting things and is not self-sufficient. Rainmaker weapon to play incredibly fast with beacons and tacticooler. Weapon that is best at staying alive in its own space, but is incredibly immobile, has a low special output, and is very comp dependent. Rainmaker niche for more versatile comps that want Tacticooler. Weapon that's best for holding down an area and being very stationary in the backline category, especially helped by the fact that it has Booyah Bomb, but struggles against heavy displacement options. Weapon that will absolutely annoy the crap out of your team if it gets behind you a single time, but struggles to get behind the enemy team and needs a team that can really capitalize off the fact that there's an ink brush back there with ultra stamps constantly coming out. Missile spam that has a bomb, but also can't really fight very well. The full charge is terrible, the mobility isn't great, and overall Flings is just kind of better. You know what? No, range doesn't deserve it. Man, it is sad to just have one weapon elongating this tier. Is there anything else I think would go here? Let me see. We have an ad, so we have time anyway. No. Oh no, roller. Roller. Okay, let me know when they're done. Yeah, Bamboo does not go here. I know, Ollie, don't worry. Bamboo is not this low. Did we miss Bamboo? No, we did not miss Bamboo. Okay. The last two weapons in this tier are a little bit different, but ultimately still belong here. Roller. Very good close-range fighting power. Curling Bomb gives it the mobility it needs, and Big Bubbler is very versatile for holding under a ledge. However, the weapon does struggle to get its special more reliable... Okay, hold on. Let me just make sure this isn't something I need to be worried about being spammed in my chat. Because this does show on stream, so like... Okay, it's just copy pasta spam. I'm just gonna... Okay, don't spam in my chat, thank you. Now we gotta do this over again. You heard my voice. Don't hurt my voice. Okay, so last up are two weapons that are a little bit different. First up, we have Roller, which is very good under ledges. It has a special that's very versatile for its team, being both supportive and aggressive, and it's the one weapon that Curling Bomb is actually nice on because it desperately needs the mobility. That being said, it's entirely dependent on its team to get in. It can really struggle at dealing with specific matchups, and the main problem that it's down here and only in Nishan is because most of the maps just absolutely have way too limited approach options for something with as linear as approach as a Curling Bomb. So this is a niche on good maps only. For stuff like Flounder, it's pretty nice for it, or even something like Museum on Clam Blitz. Sorry. So for better maps, especially if we get more of them, we will see a bit of Roller. But on the weaker maps, it's way too easy and linear to predict where Roller is going to go and what it's going to do. Big Swig is just going to become my grab-a-weapon tier. And finally is Range Blaster. The reason Range Blaster is niche is because having one on your team basically nerfs your comp. You have insanely low special output, insanely low paint, insanely high downtime, just to get AoE, a decent bomb, and a wave breaker that you'll very rarely get. It's only really worth it in tower control and against very specific comps. It has no way of dealing with Ninja Squid, its comp has to make up for it a lot, and ultimately, it's way too gear dependent because you can't run both Intensify and Quick Respawn. If you don't run Intensify, stuff like Wavebreaker or highly mobile comp screws you over, and if you don't run Quick Respawn, you can be punished and out of the fight too long when you already have too much downtime. It's just too many flaws on one weapon to be worth it outside of the one mode it's very good on because of its ability to affect the objective. Trust me, I want to rank it higher. This is my favorite weapon, but like... You guys haven't seen me playing it for a reason. Dominant niche. The last tier before we get to top tiers. Strategic gameplay is more fun than something like Flounder, just Snowball Grinder. You see, but it's the opposite. The current maps are snowbally, and Flounder is more strategic. It's the opposite. Like, there's less strategy involved in something like fucking... Like, even better stages like Hagglefish. There's less strategy involved. Flounder has a lot of different strategies and are less snowbally because you have ways to deal with it. Teams just aren't good at that because we haven't been playing that. Like, the whole strategy thing is true. It's just that these are the maps that promote less strategy. Like, think about the amount of ways you can approach a map like Flounder. Like, how you can deal with it. Like, the amount of ways you can go around it. It's only snowbally if you don't know how to play it. Because, like, most teams are running 4 people left side, and so they walk to a team that's on high ground, they shoot them. But that's not how you play Flounder. Like, that's not what Flounder's actually good at. Like, that's ultimately why these new maps are better. Or, sorry, not the new maps are better. Why the new maps are worse. I hope that could explain that well. Because I get it's kind of like... It's kind of complicated to explain. High tiers. I mean, if you don't know how to play Flounder, it is snowbally. That's why I understand that take. Because, like, if you don't know how to play the map, then you have defenders with high ground and mid. So it feels snowbally. So it's like, if you don't know how to play Flounder, that's what it feels like. Like, it feels snowbally. That's typically why people don't like Flounder. So, like, I actually totally get where he's coming from. Because, like, that's how it feels if you don't learn the stage. Yeah, like, I watched a competitive team in the NA Open walk 4 people left side and then get KO'd. And it's not that the map was snowbally, they just didn't know how to play it. So they just played it poorly. Winner, there is a dog shit tier. It's called this one. It's called Undercovers tier. Flounder is way too long to get back into the middle. I mean, that's why they added the rail, basically, on the right side as well. I do agree it could be faster, like the spawn area was elongated, but like that's why the walls are shorter. Like the walls are shorter, so climbing them is faster, but your spawn area is longer. So that's the trade-off. For the most part, I really recommend like your maneuverability options from Snipe and how to play around that. Where's all my niches? This isn't even being ranked. Neither are the scopes, so these can go away. I think everything here is what I'd consider top tier. Oh wait, Zimmy. Yeah, I think Not's actually really good. I think everything else here is top tier. These would be my top tiers. Okay. Did I make it too large? Nope. Well, part of the tier list is now missing. Chad lives, though, so it's okay. We'll move Chad up a little bit now. D-Tech over V-Shot? Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Don't really like Brine Water. Brine Water is only good in clams because that's the only mode where the flank is actually like a real thing. Like, in Brine Water, you have an actual flank. In clams, and in every other mode, it's not a good flank. Like, you don't actually go around mid. But with the rail, you actually go around. So Brine Water is like good in clams, but clams only. Clams is the only mode where the flank actually has enough power to like be worth going there. In every other mode, it just doesn't go far enough to be worth the risk. That's my issue with it. Alright. So, dominant niche. This will be very similar to good niche, and will not take long to go through a good bit of the weapons. The difference is these are the best at what they're trying to do instead of just good at it, which means they are much more common. Octobrush is your Zipcaster niche, specifically because this weapon is better at getting it and can utilize the jump a lot more to use flick attacks afterward, and I'll already say this. Octobrush is the Zipcaster niche. It does a great job at being able to jump and flick, which is very powerful. It moves fast, it can get the special often, it has a bomb to poke. This is the weapon if you want a Zipcaster specifically just for general uses. If you want Zipcaster as a way to deal with crab or more long-range threats, Bucket Deco's a bit better at it. It doesn't have a bomb, but it's 180p, so it's a bit cheaper, and the main weapon is very good at fighting things like short-range shooters. So it gives it a lot of matchups it's favorable with, and with faster comps I think is very good because it's great at creating openings and being very aggressive between the main and special weapon. It's fine in solo. Everything is fine in solo. Nothing is bad in solo. T-Tech and Squeezer are your Zuka weapons, just in different categories. If you want a more mid-range weapon, you'll pick the Squeezer. It's a bit limited because of its wall, which means it's a bit harder as a backline because it doesn't really have as much range to be a real backline. It's like a mid-range weapon that would be the longest range weapon on your comp, and Splattershot is your short-range weapon with Zuka. It does have to back off a little bit more to use the Zuka, but that's not that bad for the weapon. The main reason these are here are because Zuka just isn't as good right now as some of the other specials. But in terms of if you actually want a Zuka, these are your two big picks. Splattershot Jr. is still your main bubble weapon of choice. Actually, is Jr.? Yeah, Splattershot Jr. is still your bubble weapon of choice. If you want a bubble, this is what you would pick. If you want a bubble weapon and also need something that can fight, you would pick the Zimmy. Both of these are limited. Both of these are kind of limited by Crab meta, though, and the fact that Splash is really good is pushing both of these down. I think if Crab were out of the meta, Junior would be slightly better than Zimmy, but right now both of these suffer from similar problems, and I think Zimmy can actually fit into more Crab comps because of its ability to fight things compared to Junior. Squelcher is basically your mid-range Wavebreaker weapon. It is very weak at killing and has high ink efficiency, which means it has... Sorry. Squelcher is your mid-range Wavebreaker weapon. Its two problems are that its kill time is fairly slow and unreliable due to the spread, and the weapon has bad ink efficiency, meaning it has a lot of downtime. But in some matchups, it's worth it because of its ability to bully short-range weapons, and for the Wavebreaker output being very useful, such as when fighting Touch or Dooley. Okay. Bucket is really similar to Bucket Deco. Instead, in this case, you're using Tri-Strikes to break the objects instead. Bucket has a bit more vulnerability, but a bit more versatility with the bomb, so I think it has its own uses compared to Bucket Deco, and I wouldn't really rank one above the other. This is your actual blaster you will want to run in tower control. It has a better special, it has a cheaper cost, and it is the fastest of all the blasters due to the end lag it has. And it is the fastest of all the one-shot blasters due to the low end lag it has, which makes it particularly good in tower control and totally functional in other modes. Squiffer's hard to rank, we'll talk about that. V-Charger is the weapon you actually pick for vacuum. With 200p, it's not too expensive. It is a great main weapon, able to put out pressure, and Chargers are still solid right now, even if they struggle a bit against Crab. And yeah, really, if you want a vacuum, this is the weapon you're going to pick. Before this patch, I thought Bow had a lot of things it tried to do, but didn't do any of them well, and now I think it does stuff well enough. This is a backline that is meant to have good object shredding. It actually can two-shot Crab. Its pain ability is actually decent, which means it's going to be able to actually get whales and use whales to let its team in, and it can actually somewhat paint an area a little bit. all of those were some of the main problems with the weapon, and they got better. It's still not really great at anything it does, so it struggles with versatility enough to be much higher, but if you build a comp around the bow in this patch, I think it is actually worth it and can be useful against Crab. Still a bit held back by Toxic Mist and the lack of versatility, though. Why Blaster bad? Blasters just have a lot of flaws, and they are especially problematic in this game, and none of their kits are really perfect for the current meta. Like, the main thing is, like, Blasters will lower your pain output, it'll lower your special output, it'll lower your mobility, you'll gain more downtime. Like, it's something you have to make up for, and for none of them is it really that worth it. Blaster's just the closest. Bamboo is your midline object shredder. It is very mobile for its range value. It does good damage to Crab. Whale is very useful against Crab. And I think in general, if there's any weapon that might be a bit higher and might sort of try to replace Flingza, this is the best candidate for it. It doesn't have as good a special or a sub-weapon, but I do think it's up there. And Autobomb is still useful to be able to scout people in addition to the Whale, so I think the kit still has decent synergy. And as a whole, it's a weapon with a lot of potential. It still does struggle to kill at times. It can struggle when it's locked out. It still does have a lot of downtime. But it has a lot of reasons to be used where I think it can be worth it. Swiffer is kind of hard to say. It is still a cheap and fast bubble. The point sensor is okay in this meta versus Ninja Squid comps, which gives it a tool to actually deal with that ability that otherwise would be a hard counter to it. I'm just still not sure how worth it Swiffer is. The range and the jumping charge is still very useful, and the weapon still has a lot of things it can do, but I haven't really seen its ability to keep up with top-tier threats to the point where I don't feel comfortable ranking it any higher. Alright, guys, we made it a top tier. We made it. We made it to top tier. Okay, this has been a very long ranking, so I'm going to save the top tiers for one more video. So, thank you guys for tuning in. I will have the top tiers... Okay, sorry, I'm going to reset this. Top tier is going to have to be its own video because these weapons require the most explanation, and this video has gone on long enough. But this is where the rankings stand right now, and I will see you all next time. Don't worry, chat, we're still going to do it. I'm still nailing this. I am insane enough to do all of this. Let me just make sure I have storage space. Bye. No sleep, must tier list. I want to get it done. I'll have so much less work to do later if I have 3 fully scripted videos now. I'm not doing main weapons only. I decided to do all 3 because the tier lists don't make sense without the subs and specials ranked. So fuck it. Put the entire chat into Big Swig tier? I can't. I wish I could. I wish I had that much power, but I don't. I'm sorry. I will move you guys up to the Big Swig tier. There you go. You're now lowest of the Big Swig. Okay. And that leaves our top tiers. Let me just get a camera shot, since I don't have to worry about scroll for once. Alright, everybody, after ranking all the sub-weapons, all the special weapons, and most of the main weapons, it's finally time to talk about some of the best weapons in the game, where they stand, and what I think about the meta as a whole. So, this is, again, competitive player, not solo queue. This is in a team environment. You've heard this disclaimer a bunch already, so if you want to see more, subscribe, and let's just do it already. I mean that literally, because Twitch chat has also heard this fucking thing 3 times. Ah! Okay. The first part of the top tiers. T-Tech. Explo. Nautilus. I'll talk about Knot, by the way. I know people are surprised that Knot's here. Tetradooley. Actually, will Tetra be... Would I put Tetra in the same tier as Wiper? No, I would not. Actually... Yes, I would. Oh, this is getting hard. This is getting hard. This is actually getting hard to rank now. Yeah, heavy. No, heavy's here for sure. Oh, this is hard. No, these three are not ranked. These are skins and scopes. They're not ranked. Everything else here is what we're ranking. Yeah, I'm debating Carbon, C Junior, and 52 a lot right now. I think 52 would go here. No, Wiper doesn't go here. Wiper is higher. 52 goes here. Does Brush go here? No, Brush doesn't go here. Carbon? Carbon and C Junior. Carbon and C Junior are the last two weapons I'm debating. Everything else is going to tier up. Except maybe E-Liter. But is E-Liter that? It's still... I'm debating these three still. Everything else is going to tier up. Why are they in a big swig tier? So I can scroll without, like, interfering with things. Ultra Sand weapon top tier, lol. Yes, and a Reef Slider weapon. It is truly insane. I think Junior and Carbon are here. Okay, Leader's not here, because Leader's not the same as these. Is Carbon that good? Carbon's not that good. C Junior is. Final verdict. Carbon goes here. That is my final verdict. I will believe in the Junior and not the Carbon. I'm sticking with the ranking I did in my 10 new weapons ranked. I'm sticking with that order. Alright. Let's go. Heavy Spotling. Very good for outputting Wavebreaker. Very good at being able to shred objects at a distance and stands a chance against Crab. Good with highly mobile comps. Does still struggle a little bit overall, and against Charger it's a bit harder, and E-Liter is still pretty good. The weapon's also a bit gear dependent, so there's that as well. But as a whole, I think Heavy is one of the backlines that actually stands a bit of a better chance in Crab meta than some of the others. Explo. It's a bit stronger in zones than the other modes, but the kit is very versatile. Explo's a bit stronger in zones than in other modes, but the kit is fairly versatile. It is very good against Ninja Squid teams due to the point sensor. The Inkstorm is a very, very good combo with the main weapon. It does have the ability to hit the back of the Crab Rider, and the Inkstorm can hit Crab. Even though they can't damage the special as much, they're good at getting the Rider out of it and into ball form, which does stop it from firing. And I think, as a whole, it is okay. I never said Sprinkler was good on Heavy Splatling. Sorry, I need a different as a whole. I was reading that message. As a whole, I think it is a very good zones weapon, very good on specific maps, very good against specific comps, but can struggle in more general situations. Nautilus is probably the weapon I'm ranking higher than most people expect. I think, again, the point sensor makes this absolutely amazing against Ninja Squid teams. Inkstorm is still fairly solid, but the main thing is that Nautilus does way better object damage than people think. Like, it's actually pretty good at shredding Crab, especially if you already have a Storm on it. And it's also very good at bullying the main weapon of Splash. Splash has to resort to Burst Bomb spamming this thing. And its paint is not bad, its special output is not bad, it doesn't have any stat it's that terrible at, and its mobility isn't super limited either. I actually think Not is a pretty decent option right now. I think Not players just are way too still. Okay. Why is there an alarm going off? Can you guys hear that? That is not my phone, right? No, it is not. What the fuck is that? Okay, you guys can't hear it, I'll keep going. I think not players need to get over the kit for a second and start actually testing the main weapon in this meta, because I think it's a lot better than people think. 10 attack. If people get better with Tri-Strike, I could see it being higher, but right now Crab's mobility makes it seem like it's not as good an option against it as I would like to believe. That being said, it still outputs a crazy amount of them. It is still a splatter shot, one of the best weapons in the game. It has Splat Bomb, which makes it great at being dived, and it means it's actually pretty good at the splash matchup as a main weapon-wise, and even if Tri-Strike isn't as good as something like Crab, it does get a very high output of them, so it'll have the ability to use it in fights more often, and an entry tool is always very solid, especially as T-Tech players get better at lobbing strikes in order to effectively push while the strikes are going off. Carbon Deco. Very good against Splash. Very good if it can get in. Has Azuka to deal with things at a distance and object damage. Does still struggle on maps. We have already seen Volti, the main Carbon player in the Western scene, switch off it on maps like Mincemeat because it's just way too bad for Carbon. And on top of that, the value you get with Zuka is situational, considering you already don't get a lot of Zuka. It is, to be fair, it is also a lightweight weapon that can run a lot of different abilities, so things like Quick Respawn and Ninja Squid at the same time are very powerful, and that might help it out, but right now, I only see it this good. And finally, 52. If Whale was a little bit better, I think I could see it higher. As a whole, it's still a solid displacement tool. It's still one of the best matchups against Splash as a main weapon due to having Wall, but it still struggles a bit on Lockout, and I think that's kind of its main problem. It's going to be really difficult to actually get in against a Crab and to get a good bit of specials in that situation, which makes it more comp dependent than I think people want to admit. Alright. Let's just drag every other weapon up. We have room to fit it all. Let's get everything else up here. We got room. Tom to Bennett, someone run 3. Yeah, they also ran 4. It also didn't work. It also did not actually work. Why is V-Dooley so high? I'll get to that. Alright, so there's going to be a theme you notice with these. Not only are these weapons that are very good at what they're supposed to do, but they're also very good at dealing with Crab, or have a strength so extreme they can be worth it despite Crab meta. And the only thing I mean is worth it despite Crab meta is E-Liter. The long distance pressure this weapon puts out is absolutely unrivaled. It bullies every other backline weapon in the game. The decrease in missile output is actually way better for this thing than people want to admit. Mines are very nice for covering flanks, and with Mines and Wavebreaker, you have solid survivability, and Wavebreaker is very strong right now. If it was a tiny bit better at combating Crab on high ground, I actually think this could be even higher, but that is the main problem for it, and the typical double splash flings it comp is built to be able to deal with E-Liter very well, and it's just a matter of E-Liter players are not quite at the point to where they have been able to deal with that comp. Or not necessarily that. At the moment, though, I don't think we've seen E-Liter able to combat that comp well enough to be any higher. Custom Junior absolutely destroys certain comps in the game. It destroys dualies. It destroys blasters without intensify, which are still somewhat relevant in tower control. The Wavebreaker is very good against Crab, and it has the ability to output so much of them that the splashes actually have to reliably find a way to deal with a Wavebreaker, which is really useful on some maps. The Torpedo gives it a tool to actually keep itself alive with the rolled mode. It can bully backlines with the thrown mode. I think it is actually a really good weapon. The main problem is it struggles to fight Splash as a main weapon, but it just gets its special so fast and has such high output that I don't think that's that big a problem. I think Flingza is a bit overrated right now. I've seen a lot of teams sticking with it, even though it's clearly not working as well as it used to. But that being said, Missile is still the best special at dealing with an enemy Crab. Flingza still has a bunch of paint output and painting range. Its horizontal flick is good at defending itself, and I think we might see Flingza players being more aggressive with the missiles after the patch, which could still push the weapon a bit higher. And I think right now it's still in a very solid spot, especially in zones. Ink Brush. This thing is elevated by being very good at dealing with crab. The mobility lets it get around the firing mode, especially on specific maps. It gets fast whale with a bomb and 180p on one of the best painters, so it doesn't struggle to get entry tools unlike something like a 52, and once it gets up close, it is very threatening. The combination of the main, sub, and special are basically perfect synergy-wise, and that makes it work very well, on top of being a lightweight weapon that can run basically any gear it wants. If you want Ninja Squid, quick respawn, special charge, last-ditch effort, stealth jump, whatever you want, you can fit it on this weapon. Machine. A very good answer to Splash-O-Matic. Very good at playing at a distance. Booyah Bomb's still one of the strongest options. That being said, Booyah Bomb struggles against Crab more because you cannot mash faster anymore. With that limit removed, Crab became better against Booyah Bomb. And on top of that, I believe more options at dealing with Crab are being put in this game, which means the idea of Machine being the main counter to it, I think, is starting to drop off. I think we're starting to see more different options. That while it does not invalidate Machine's niche at being good at dealing with Splash and Crab, it does mean that it's going to have more options to deal with. Dualies. If you want a crab weapon with a bit better mobility for specific comps, this is what you run. It is still very versatile to work well enough in main comps, but it doesn't have the same amazing stats as Splash does. That being said, if you're going with things like Double Dually, I think it is more worth it. It has better object damage than Splash due to the roll mode and the suction bomb, and the 30 damage number is very nice for being able to combo with things like bombs. I will wait for the ad. Is the ad done? Alright. Talked about Dually already, but TLDR for you guys. Better damage, better with specific comps, bomb that can damage objects. Makes it better in some situations, but overall still worse than Splash. Moving on. Stamper. The best mid-range weapon at being able to damage Crab. 3 charge slashes absolutely wrecks it. It can do this at a long distance behind cover. It has a one-shot up close to defend itself. The horizontal slash is extremely reliable damage. The paint is good. It has a burst bomb with perfect combo synergy. And while the Zipcaster isn't great, with the recent patch, it's able to use its main weapon more, which means you can Zipcast around Crab users and threaten to shred them, basically forcing the Crab person to move. I think the zip buff actually did a lot for this weapon in terms of combating Crab, which is the main reason it's picked right now. And I think overall it's still very solid against a lot of options due to the versatility of the main weapon. It has the ability to deal with a lot of different things, and being especially good at dealing with HP stuff is very relevant right now. Tetra Dually. This is your quick respawn weapon. I have talked about this in the Wiper video, but TLDR, a quick respawn weapon's job is to come from side angles and take attention to let its team in, while it has the quick respawn to afford itself to die and come back in fights. Tetra pushes this to the extreme by also being a good fighter that tries to fight things like Splash-O-Matics, that tries to fight things like Tenatex or other short-range weapons. And in general, while it is limited by Reef Slider, the main and sub are a very good combination that allow this weapon to be one of the best QR weapons. That being said, it's not the best QR weapon. That goes to Splatana Wiper. Now, I have an entire video on why I think this thing is good. Tetra is not outclassed, which is why it's in the same tier. Tetra is better at killing and moving through enemy ink, but I think Wiper as a whole is more useful in this meta. Okay, quick side note. I'm going to give chat right here a long explanation because you guys haven't seen the Wiper video yet, because it's not out yet. But for YouTube viewers, the Wiper video will have been out long before this. So, I'm going to give a quick TLDR of the Wiper video, and you guys must promise to watch the Wiper video. Do we have a deal? Type deal if you agree. If we have a deal, I'll explain. Alright, so again, small editor note. I will do a shorter explanation for Wiper. and I'm actually going to redrag it again. I will do a shorter explanation for Wiper, but I'm going to give Twitch chat a brief one since they haven't watched. Tetradooley has slightly better mobility through enemy ink and slightly better kill time. However, the main job is to take attention from the sides. Splatana Wiper has much better versatility with its paint output, and its mobility through enemy ink is much better since the buff. It has a cheaper and better special. Having a stamp means you can actually deny Panic Crab and Booyah if you get up close to it, something that Tetradooley consistently struggles with. Stamp also has a long-range throwing mode, and in general is way better than Reef Slider, even if it's still not a great special. The Torpedo is a much more threatening sub when used behind people, since its ability to be thrown there causes much more of a distraction and attention, meaning that Wiper behind people can do much more threatening-wise. Wiper also generally just has a better combo sub and better tools with that. Wiper does not have the same exploitable end lag and requirement to stay grounded that Tetra does. Wiper can move through things like Wavebreaker while Tetra struggles versus it. Wiper still has the ability to super jump in and live with the charge/dash, which happens almost instantly, and you can move while threatening to one-shot people, something I've done with Stamper, but Wiper is even better at doing that because it's faster. Wiper itself has better object damage, and can do so safely under ledges and in cover, at longer range than Tetra can even fire at, meaning even without Ultra Stamp, it can actually deal with and pressure things like Crab, which are especially relevant right now. The main weapon Strafe Speed is also very good, and it's a lightweight weapon, which means its mobility is going to be better than Tetra by default, giving it access to either just better mobility in general to get in nice locations, or the ability to run Ninja Squid on the weapon. Tetradooley is better at a few things, but overall, Wiper has way more strengths to abuse, and in general, the better kit and object damage and paint are all exceptionally worth it in this meta for the versatility. If the Tetra's the last player alive, it can't hold a zone. A Wiper can. If a Tetra is facing a Crab, it can't deal with it. A Wiper can. If the Tetra has a special ready, it's gonna die, and a Wiper will actually damage things. That is why Wiper is better than Tetra. Again, if you want more kill power, the Tetra is still better at it. In a future meta, this will probably change. I will admit Wiper is inflated because of the importance of breaking Crab. But that's what the meta is right now. Alright. However, it's not the best quick respawn weapon. That goes to Wiper. I have done a whole video on this, so for anyone skeptical of it, I highly recommend checking it out because I have broke it down in full detail there. But TLDR, the weapon has better paint, a better special that actually does things, and is significantly better against HP specials, which is exceptionally important for the role it's in, giving it the ability to actually fight and pressure things like Crab. Thank you for the gifted 5 subs, Pigeon. Alright. So that being said, we all know what this top tier is actually called. And we all know what actually goes there. Regardless of how positive I've talked about these weapons, every single one of them has revolved around Crab or fighting Splash. And that is because Splash is easily the best weapon in the game. Splash is a versatile main weapon that, while it does not have the extreme strengths of any of these weapons here, does have insane versatility. It is fast, it can jump, it can paint well, it has burst bombs for combo potential, it has Crab to deal with long range. Crab itself is a very versatile special that can deal with anything. You need survivability, you got the ball form. You need damage, you have the standard fire. Same for walling out areas. Are people hiding behind a corner? You got the secondary fire. Hell, you even got the burst bomb right after the Crab runs out for that. It just does so many things. In competitive play, almost every good team right now is running 2 of this thing, in West and Japan. In some cases, we're seeing 3 of this thing, and it's not gonna go anywhere. Yes, Crab does have some vulnerabilities. It has a limited turning speed, and yes, Crab has vulnerabilities. It has a limited turning speed, and the rider is vulnerable. But with good Crab use in a coordinated environment, those are weaknesses that are very, very easy to make up for, and you have many, many strengths that are by far more worth it to use. This is the weapon that defines the meta right now, and until Crab, or this is the weapon that defines the meta right now, and until Crab is nerfed, there are not going to be as many significant changes, because that needs to go to enable so many of these things to start having more of a chance. And it might bump down some of the higher tier weapons like the Spaltanas, but I think ultimately the main thing that needs to change is Crab needs nerfs. That is the state of 2.0 Splatoon 3. Thank you guys so much for watching this tier list, and I will see you all next time. We did it! Ah! Oh my god, I did not think I would be able to do all of that. I scripted something earlier today too. Here we go, chat. I will allow questions, and here's the full tier list. I will save it. Or actually, let me order these a bit better before I save it. But I'll do that, and I'll take some questions. Oh my god. And we're gonna actually put these in class order. It's gonna take a bit, but... Oh my god. Can you go over Splat Dualies again? Better mobility, lethal bomb, 30 damage is better combo potential. Any ideas on nerfing Crab? It needs less duration in HP. It has to happen. It cannot keep this amount of HP. It's too much. Why no love for L3? There's just no reason to pick it. This is outclassed. Why is Dynamo so low? Dynamo as a main weapon is not that great, and the things the kid is good at aren't things the main weapon wants to synergize with as much. The special is mainly good in Rainmaker, and it's not a Rainmaker weapon. This was exhausting. I am exhausted. We do it for the content, though. Oh my god. Blasters are after in this order. Range order there. Dualies and Umbrella. Why is a Squeezer in dominant niche rather than top tier? The wall limits it a lot, and Zuka isn't amazing right now. Reflux and Squiffer because they're 2 tiers apart. Reflux doesn't have an ability to affect things at a distance. It lacks any form of range. It can't defend itself well. It's just a missile spammer. Squiffer actually has real versatility. Bow 2-shotting Crab with Object Shredder? That is literally the reason it's this high. If it did not have that, it would be down. It is only there because of that ability. Why is this Splatbarrel in top tier? It's bad at everything. The only thing it has is its shield, which isn't worth it. How much quick respawn is needed for Wiper? I would say you should do at least 3 mains. Why is Stamper higher than Octobrush? I don't get why these two weapons are being compared, but Octobrush is a Zipcaster niche, while Stamp does a bunch of different things that are good right now. They're not really picked for the same reason. You don't pick Stamper for the Zipcaster. You pick it because you want a Stamper. What happened to the meta if Splash didn't exist? Not much. It would just be Dually. You would just run 2 Dually. Like, it'd be easier, but it wouldn't really change much. It would just be Dualies instead. Oh, the list change if Crab was a meta? This would be a completely different list. So much of this list revolves around this and Crab. Like, it would not even be the same list. Everything would change. Like, if Crab was removed from the game, this whole thing changes. It's like, it's such a drastic shift that I wouldn't even start with this list. I would clear the list and do it again. It absolutely changes everything. Yeah, Salmon Run is a completely different game. The maps contribute too? Yeah. I mean, Roller would be higher if it weren't for the maps. Same for range. Weapons do Zap's job at an equal level. It's not that other weapons do Zap's job. Zap has a good niche. It's just that its niche isn't that valuable. Having a general tacticular bomb weapon for Rainmaker is just not that amazing a thing. It's just for Rainmaker. That's one of 4 modes in the game. Could you go over Splat Roller? It does. If the maps were better, it would be higher. Would the game be ruined by Leader without Crab? It depends on map lists. We now have Flounder. We now have a few good maps to where Leader isn't as dominant. I'm not quite sure if it would be a problem. Heavy? Wavebreaker, very good. Weapon, very good with fast comps. Overall, just solid option. It struggles versus other backlines, but you're not encountering much other backlines. You're encountering Flingza. Which is not actually a problem for Heavy. No, Curling's actually good with Roller. Roller needs Curling. Why is Big Swee at its own tier? Because it's, like, strangely good in the smallest amount of situations, but it's so unbelievably awful elsewhere. Like, these weapons are good at their niche, but they're functional elsewhere. Swig is, like, either this or this. No in between. It is either this or this. There's no middle ground. There is literally no middle ground. Would Whale be good on Machine? Yes. Oh my god, we're almost done sorting this shit. There we go. Neat and in order, I think. I think this is all in order now. And T-Tech got Missile, then we would have the best anti-crab comp in the game. Run double T-Tech flings it. Missile the crab, and then have teammates run at it while 2 pairs of missile go off. Missile breaks the crab or keeps it from firing, and the T-Tech shred it. Completely different meta. Yeah, that's the thing. That's kind of what I'm worried about. Because people don't realize how close Missile is to being in the same spot Crab is. Like, the problem is just the weapons with Missile, not the special itself. Even with the nerf, it would still be there. We don't realize how close we are to a missile meta right now. We are teetering on the edge of a missile meta right now. And we're just hoping we don't tilt too much in the wrong direction, but one weapon will change it. Chara's main is kind of mid. I mean, yeah, this is in the middle of the list. Very accurate. How would this meta be with no missile? Crab would just be better. Because Missile is the main special against Crab. You take away Flingza, this becomes better. We start seeing more 3 splash. Missile and Crab both need to be nerfed. Both are still problems. Both have to happen. How far does Stamper drop without Crab meta? Here or here? One of these two. Probably Dominant Niche would be more accurate, but the weapon has enough potential to be here. Wiper would also just go here. Actually, Wiper might go here too. I think both of those Platanas would drop 1 or 2 tiers if it weren't for Crab. Bring back Stingray, but it only damages Crab and missile users. I mean, Crab as a special is fine design-wise. I don't want Crab to be gone. It just can't be this good. Like, Crab is just too good, but the design isn't a problem for the game. It's just too good stat-wise. Why is giving missile to a splash shot danger? Because right now, you can't run double missile. This is the only good missile weapon. You can't run 2 of this. The main weapon's not good at running double. If you add a splatter shot, you can run double, triple, even quadruple missile. You probably won't run 4 of them, at that point it's not worth it, but you can run 2 to 3. Why is Tenebrillo lower? Vacuum isn't as great right now, main weapon isn't as great right now, and it doesn't fucking work. Points do you have on Stamper? I don't know. Too many. What if it was the best but not overbearing? Like, Splash? Like, what if it was the best weapon but you couldn't run 2 of it? Like, what if it was here? I mean, that's the outcome I want. Like, I don't want Splash down, like, more than this tier. That's what I'm hoping for. Because that means, like, the rules of Crab still apply, they're just less harsh. So stuff like Splatona's only drop 1 tier instead of 2, and other stuff rises up like 1 or 2 tiers instead of rising drastically. I think that's the best outcome. Limited, it has Stamp. Stamp does not synergize with Mini. Like, that's the thing. I actually like some of the effects Crab has on the meta. Like, I think some of the things it has is actually positive. It's just too much. Like, I don't want it to go down here. It shouldn't. It should be here. 1 Crab is actually very healthy for the game. I very much like single Crab in comps. Small point lower than Heavy? Its kit's just worse. Mainly Inkjet just isn't good right now. Heavy outputs Wave Breaker. That's scary. Being able to get consistent wave is really fucking threatening. Not really for Inkjet. Anything about Stamp on Wiper? Because Wiper plays so far behind it on the sides to people, and it plays to shred objects, it has perfect synergy. You will rush mode in the best situations. You will have the ability to stop people from panicking special. Like, that's good. That's what you want. Like, what other Stamp weapon can mid-range poke a Splash safely, and then if the Splash crabs, it immediately fucks up the crab by, like, Stamp Throw, Charge Slash, your crab is gone. Like, it's just gone. Don't even need the rush mode. Just main special, crab is dead. Just having a Stamp prevents Panic Crab. Would it be better if it had, like, its own crab? Absolutely. But that's valuable for now. Yeah, the stream VOD will be up here, and I will put it on the second channel. Would Heavy be irrelevant if CJed gets Wave? Depends on the sub, but probably. Why do you think some top teams are running no backline? Just to be able to, like, run down the splat, like, run down and take space when there's no crab, and then when there's a crab, you have better mobility. Mobility is just good against crab right now. So if you're not having a backline, you invest in mobility. And T-Tech's generally an answer because T-Tech will, like, give crab, like, a time period where it's not hitting things. I don't know how I feel about Backlist, because Backlist still has some problems. Like, you still have very limited range, you have very limited specials to, like, get back in. It's still kind of hard, especially with the limited kits. But I feel like it could maybe work. Any Slayer that gets kills while staying safe? Not really. Like, I guess maybe Squeezer? But, like, in top level, even Squeezer range is something that people can work around. If you want to play really safe, Slayer really isn't the role for you. Like, Slayer weapons have to put themselves in some form of risk. That's just their job. Crab go down in value more open maps? Yeah, I didn't talk about it, but Double Crab is actually genuinely bad on Flounder. Like, you actually don't run Double Crab on Flounder. Because Crab on Retake is significantly weaker because you don't have high ground. You're on low ground. You actually have to get the crab in to be used. And then secondly, even when you crab the high ground, there's so many different approach options that you don't have to deal with it. Like, crab's still good, but it is not as good. Like, if you're trying to pick a map to be as anti-crab as possible, you pick Flounder. Flounder is significantly weaker against crab than everything else in the game. How the meta changes Scorch and Eeltail stay the way they're wearing the trailers? I mean, it depends. Like, with all the maps, it's not as different. But the thing is, like, most top tournaments are small, limited maps with counter picks. So, like, if you have a bunch of maps you can pick to, you could be like, okay, we'll take the crab team to Old Scorch, Old Eeltail, and Flounder. Every time they win a game, we'll just take them there, and then we only have to win one map that's really good for crab. Though old Eel Tail might still be really good for double crab. I think old Scorch would be the only one that's actually, like, possibly weaker for 2 crab. Will be another Splatoon 1 or 2 map they could bring back that would be bad for crab. Reef. Reef and Bluefin would be your 2 options. Because Bluefin is a split mid, so it gives a lot of options, especially if they rework it so where getting into mid is easier. And then Reef just has another way around in general. Like, Reef has so many ways to get around that crab can't solo control everything. Salt Spray? No, Salt Spray would not be good crab. I mean, sorry, would yes be good crab. You just take the high ground. You crab up there. And then when you come back from spawn, you just go all the way around left and crab your snipe. Or get to your snipe and crab and you get the zone. Moray? Wait, Moray getting a points for special buff? What? I don't know what you mean. If Angle Shooter were buffed? It depends how it's buffed. It has to be, like, buffed in a relevant way to that weapon. Mainly, I think the thing you could do is shave off an extra shot to kill on the Jet. But even then, I don't know. I think Jet just needs a new kit. Like, I think Jet just needs its burst bomb back. That's when I think we'll see more Jet. Until then, I don't think we're going to see much. Will it be a perfect map? A slightly wider Flounder would probably be there. Or Old Mahi. Those are probably my top picks right now. Old Mahi with a slightly better spawn. Or current Flounder with slightly better side routes. I mean, Jet's just also not that great a weapon. Like, it got to spam missile. Yeah, your Mahi redesign? Yeah, exactly. Like, what you made? That would be good. That's from a competitive standpoint, would you like to see return? I think Bluefin has a good chance of being improved by a remake because they can't get rid of the double mid. It's just too much of the stage. Reef would be a great map. If they're willing to bring back maps twice, stuff like Pit would be very good as well. I mean, I think Bamboo should get burst. I'm not opposed to that. Even if Burst Bomb is necessary for Bamboo to be, like, a top tier, I think that's just so much healthier of a route, especially since Bamboo's ink hungry. S1 Ancho, it needs tweaks, but that could be good. But they wouldn't bring back S1 Ancho, they'd bring back S2 Ancho. S1 Ancho is dead. Not that there's 2 drastic differences. How do you rework Bluefin into 1 mid? They will. I think even Nintendo wouldn't do that. I mean, I would argue everything limited and above can be played. Like, to some extent. I'd say everything here and above could be played. If you really want to. I don't think it's very worth it, but, like, you could. Yeah, all the Splatoon maps were completely redone. It's weird. Splatoon 2 had all the original variants of Splatoon 1 maps in them, which is also cool. What kit for a weapon would fuck up the meta without missile or crab? Any new kit for, like, crab shredders. Wiper and Stamper mainly. Stamper with a really good kit for shredding crab, like a sub, like giving crab a splat bomb. Giving Stamper a splat bomb would be very good for it against crab. I don't know what special you'd do, but, like, that would be a good start. Like, maybe that and wave would be really good. Like, splat bomb wave, and then this thing threatens crab even more. Like, I think C Junior is a good example of that. C Junior is not even a crab shredder. It's just, it outputs a special crab struggles with. Would L3 need to be top tier? A different kit. The main weapon could maybe make it with a burst bomb and a really good special. Like, it could be top tier with a burst bomb and a good special. But the current kit does nothing for it. Fear the day they give X will burst bomb? They won't. They know that's too good. They're not going to do it. I was worried they'll give it Angle Shooter, but now I don't think they will because they gave it to Bucket. So I think Expo is safe. Which is good because Angle Shooter on that thing would not actually be good. What weapons do you think could be good with a different kit? I mean, a bunch of these. This needs another kit. This needs another kit. 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 Desperately needs another kit. Needs another kit. Needs another kit. Needs another kit. Like, a bunch of them. I think I could pick out, like, half the weapons that would benefit from another kit. What kit do you think is really good but the main weapon sucks? Like, the most kit-carried weapon in this game? I'm not sure. It's kind of hard for kits to carry weapons in this game compared to Splatoon 2. Clash? I would say, I know the opposite answer. The most main weapon carried kit is Tri-Slosher. Tri-Slosher absolutely carries its kit. Try with a good kit will be scary when that happens. I don't know why Inkjet's on 2 weapons. I don't know what's wrong with the devs with that. I guess I'd say Carbon is the most kit-carried weapon, technically. I guess Carbon would be the answer. Carbon's kit is absolutely perfect for it. Yeah, Tetra carries its kit too, that's true. But Tetra with the sub is still good. This thing is carrying both the sub and the special. This is just carrying the special. And if the special is good, I think it actually works on this thing. I think Tri is like the biggest kit carrier. What the fuck is the H5? Reflux carried by kit? No, it's not. The kit can't even save it. Like, it's down here with this kit. Pencil. Yeah, Pencil is the most held back by its kit right now. Holy fuck, man. This goddamn thing. Oh, 5. Oh, I'm fucking dumb. 5. Yeah, okay, Pencil. Pencil is also like kit. Yeah, kit. This thing needs a different kit. This thing's kit sucks ass. They need to buff it. Another ad? We wait. I don't know. This doesn't feel perfect, but it feels good enough. And these two feel perfect. Like, I feel like my subs and specials are 100% accurate. And this feels like 90% to me. 90, 95%. I'm just selling Reflux? I don't think so at all. Reflux does not have the range to safely defend itself, and mobility is very good right now. Big Genghis, thank you for the prime. Or the tier 1. And Reflux also just lacks a bomb. How to make Rapid better? It needs a different fucking kit. I think Rapid is actually a decent weapon right now. Mainly it's just kill time it struggles with. But if it got like a combo... Like, dude, Crab Pit. Crab Pit would be here. Crab Pit would be way over here. If they bring back Crabpid. How to make Dynamo better? It needs to be able to fucking paint and do damage. It can't do either of them, and it needs to. Because it has a fuck ton of downtime. Like, this thing can't do damage, but at least it paints. This thing does neither. This thing's damage is so fucking terrible. Why does a junior effectively outrange this shit? This is the big roller. What the fuck? You need a vertical flick to outrange a fucking junior. Yeah, Dynamo's sad right now. Dynamo's very sad. All the rollers need a range buff? No, Carbon is fine. I even think Reg Roller is fine. I think Roller just, the maps suck. I think Roller's actually totally fine. Scruffer with an aggro kit could be better? Honestly, I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say right now. Why not have Junior top tier if it's a main Bubble weapon? Because Bubble sucks against Crab. That's why it's here in the tier list. Like, Crab just hard limits Bubble. That's it. If Crab is gone, the Bubble weapons are going to climb more than anything else. Because Bubble is very broken. It's just Crab beats it out and is also broken. Like, Bubble and Wave are the two specials that people don't think enough about, and then the second Crab is gone, they are gonna fucking be everywhere. Everywhere. You will see a ton of Bubble and Wavebreaker the second Crab is toned back. I promise. Like, those specials are waiting to be fucking good. Big Swig has a thin vertical hitbox? Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, Wave is already good right now. It's going to be better. What's the best counter to Crab? Probably Wiper. This is the best anti-Crab in the game right now. That or this. But Fling's only really counters it because of Missile. The main weapon doesn't really do anything. Everything of this kit deals with Crab well. Yeah, I mean, these two being better would be the best thing for the game right now, in my opinion. I think Inkjet and Zipcaster should be this good. Because these specials help with the maps. And they're also very well designed in terms of, like, fighting versus being fought. Like, the main problem with dive in other shooter games is some options can't deal with dive. But in this game, everything is mobile. There's not a single weapon that's too slow to deal with being dived. Everything can move. And so the typical problems that dive has on a game aren't a thing in this game. It's just a different environment. And then it also fixes the maps. Like, I think Zip and Inkjet are the most important specials to buff right now. Like, those need to be good. They need to make these really good. I think it's so beneficial for the game if these are good specials. Yeah, I think the rush mode just needs to be faster and protect you more. Like, just a tiny bit faster. The main thing is it should actually block shots in front of you. Like, almost completely. It should block shots in front of you. Okay, let me zoom out so you guys can actually see the full tier list. There we go. Also, the differences between Undercover and Splash are insane. It is insane just how far this gap is. Like, the gap between these two weapons is like, it might be the biggest gap between a top and bottom tier Splatoon has ever had. Like, this might be the largest gap we've ever had between the worst and best weapon. At worst, that's one weapon? I don't even remember. But nothing felt as, like, I think Wunder in this game is, like, the largest gap. That, or maybe, like, Splatoon 2 Wunder versus Kgal. That might be the one you would argue. But even then, like... Even then, you could splash down a fucking Booyah Bomb, and it did okay. Not great, but, like, okay. This, not a chance. Undercover literally cannot do anything against Crab. Nothing. Is completely worthless. Fizzy and Crab? Still no reason to pick it. Just pick a different Crab weapon. The main weapon needs buffs. Brellas need to be buffed. Brellas are the overall worst class in the game right now. They are terrible. Brellas absolutely need major buffs. They need to give this weapon better damage. Damage has to be the start. Like, they need to do damage. Brellas not dealing damage is not okay. Like, the damage they do is so fucking problematic. Like, they can't recover from that right now. They need major buffs. All of them do. Tense is the only okay one. Like, I could see people argue Tense up here. That's the highest a Brella will ever be. Brella is not higher than this tier. And this is not higher than this tier. Yeah, I think this needs 122.5, 90, 45. All of that needs to happen first. I would be okay if they just did that and nothing else. At least to show, like, okay, we are willing to give them their old strength back. Like, we're going to be willing to revert important shit. But, like, Brellas need fucking changes. They need help. More shield HP? Maybe. This could go to 250. Maybe. I wouldn't go higher than 250. I would cap it at 250. I even debated doing an Overwatch and putting it at 225. But I think 250 is fair. I mean, just talk to, like, me, or talk to Gray, or Keen. There was a Kunder meta. There was a point where people actually played it. Sendu's another good one. Like, there's a lot of top players who did actually play Kunder. Kunder was a really fun support in Splatoon 2. I would argue Kunder was the most fun and varied support weapon in Splatoon 2. Because it actually had unique things to play around, rather than just being a paint bot. Like, you actually had to take advantage of the positioning with the shield and torpedo and fights and all that stuff. Like, Kunder actually had a fucking unique support playstyle. In this game, like, all the supports do. In Splatoon 2, only Kunder did. I mean, the problem with Kunder was that with Ink Armor, it was so, like, you could not pick a blaster into an undercover. If they picked Kunder, you switched off any blaster that wasn't rapid, or you were throwing. Like, you were just straight up throwing. But because no special is as hard to counter as Ink Armor is, I think it'd be fine. Because, like, C Junior is the closest thing to Kunder. It doesn't have a shield for matchups, but, like, C Junior is very oppressive, but it's not too oppressive. It's on a fine line against stuff like Tetris, but it's not too far. It's not too hard to counter. So it's okay. Something similar to what C Junior has, I think would be good for Kunder. Class would you say is most fun? I think Splatanas are most fun. I think Splatanas are the best designed class in the game. They absolutely do way too much right. I will make a video on it eventually when we get more Splatanas, but right now there's just 2 of them. I have to make sure they can't fuck up the design with future ones. But right now, Splatanas are easily the best overall design class and weapons in the game. Alright, any more questions about the list? And other stuff to talk about? Otherwise, I'm gonna wrap up for the day. Faster or slower one? It's hard to see a Splatana faster than Wiper. I feel like they have to go slower, or they have to go, like, a different route. Like, both of these are Slayers. Mid-range and short-range. Even this is kind of mid-range. I think they should go with, like, a support route for it. Yeah, like a Dynamo Splatana. That's what I want to see next. Yeah, you could go more rapid fire. But then it would have to be, like, shorter range. I'm not sure how you would do with that. I'm not sure what they'll do with it. Yeah, there's definitely going to be a Dynamo Splatana. I'm not... There will be a heavy Splatana. I am very convinced. Ardealies are had. They're not completely outclassed by Tetra. They have reasons to be used. It has a lethal bomb. It has a bit better mobility with the rolls in enemy ink. It has 30 damage for better combo numbers. Those are all relevant. And it has better DPS because of roll mode. So those are relevant. Zimmy or Junior? If Bubble were real, like if Bubble didn't have to deal with Crab, Junior would be better because of the bomb. The bomb matters so much. But if they buff Mist, then Zimmy would be better. But the problem is just that Mist is fucking terrible. Like, that's what's holding Mini back. Should give a Soda Slosh or Burst Bomb, or the kid's not ready yet. They should not give a Bucket Burst Bomb. If they were willing to go the custom kits route and just do super powerful kits, then Burst Bomb Bucket could be fine. But with the route they've gone in this game, I'm happy with the level kits are at because they're still good at stuff. But, like, it's not far enough to the point where you can run, like, put a bucket with Burst in the game. It's just not that far yet. Burst Bucket is a little nutty. Yeah, it is. Colors your toothbrush? That's a very random question, but right now it's green. Probably see both Splatanas that high. I mean, it's just Crab. Crab. Everything revolves around this. Everything here revolves around this. So these happen to be good versus this. So they get higher. He misput Mace 10 by accident. Shadow, you know this shit's fucking true. Give me a break. I know you would never rank 10 higher than this. This is the highest you would put 10 on a tier list. I know it. I know you. Why is V-Shot better than T-Tech? Oh, batter. I was about to say, like, better special, more versatile, faster, better bomb. Alright. Any questions on sub-weapons? Zinc dominant? Yeah, dominant niche. Niche. If you need a bubble weapon that can output bubble and fight, you pick the Zimmy. There's nothing else you pick. You pick the Zimmy every time. Why is suction worse? Splat bomb's faster. Can combo and pressure people more quickly, and it functions as a get off me tool. Suction can't do those things. How do you buff Mist? If you hit people, speed up the velocity, and then give it a disruptor effect if you hit people. We kind of are in a zoning meta. Crab is a zoner. And Squid Beacon become good? It's good, it's just not on good weapons. Like, look at the beacon weapons. What are the good beacon weapons on this list? Like, is there a single beacon weapon up here? There's no beacon weapon here. That's why you don't see beacon. Doesn't mean the sub isn't good, it's just not on good things. Yeah, V-Dapple is the only thing. V-Dapple is not that good. This is a Rainmaker niche. That's it. That's all it is. Are tiers ordered? No, the order in the tiers is just sorted by weapon class and range. There's no order in the tiers. I am not doing that shit, ever. I will never do that. But yeah, any sub-weapon questions? I'm going through these and we're wrapping up the stream. It's been 2 hours. I've been talking about the fucking game too long. Should mine be buffed? No. This is fine. Everything here doesn't need buffs. Here needs buffs. And then everything else above it is fine. Like, these don't need changes. Other than maybe an LD nerf. That's it. Where's Blob? Down here. Why do you put both Lunas in limited? The main weapon is not that good. Okay. No other sub-weapon questions. What buffs does curling need? They should probably just make it cheaper. I think double curling should be a thing. Like, I would actually, I'm adding this to my patch notes. Like, what's the ink efficiency at for curling? Like, my list is this right now. But I'd probably just ditch this. I would do this. I would just give you double curl. I would just give people double curling. I think you should just flat out get 2 curling bombs. By default. Because then you can curling, and then you can throw another one. Okay, no more sub-weapon questions? Based on design, I'm not doing that shit right now. Also, it's not that different. Like, it's actually almost the same order. Okay, specials. Any specials questions? Once again, no order in the tiers. Why does missiles exist? I don't fucking know. Why isn't Reef Slide? Shut up, Max. Stop playing with me. 40% is too low? Yeah, it should be 45. You're right. Oh, that's my bad. Yeah, 45. There we go. That's fair. True. Why do you hate Angle Shooter? I don't. I like Angle Shooter. It just sucks. But I like it. It's such a cool concept. Like, that would be the one part that would change. Design-wise, this would go here. But it's so fucking terrible. It's just undertuned. How do you make it good? It needs less end lag. It just needs less end lag. I think it should also eat bombs. Like, completely. But the main thing is they have to decrease the end lag. It's just too much. I wouldn't decrease it by a lot, but I would tone it down a little bit. It needs to decrease. You add another ability? Yeah, my Tacticooler rework idea. Right now, this is my idea for Tac. Make it breakable. Get rid of the stupid special saver. Boost the swim and run. But mainly, give it sub-defense and object shredder. I think sub-defense and object shredder are the main things. Mainly object shredder, because object shredder would be really good against specials. Like, being able to give 4 people OS to deal with something like Crab would be very, very valuable. Miss Buff, already talked about it. There's the subs again. Yeah, the specials. I think the special saver is very risky to have, yes. I don't like that effect that strong. I would rather they get rid of it. And I also don't like that the stand isn't breakable. I think those things need to be fixed, and then the special needs to get buffed. I mean, on better maps, Cooler might be broken. It's very meta-dependent. So, I don't know. But again, back then was Turf War layouts. The ranked layouts are usually better. So people thought the ranked modes would be better in terms of maps, but they aren't. What do you do to point sensor? I don't know. Point sensor is probably just going to get worse. The better maps we get, let alone if Ninja Squid gets nerfed, I don't see point sensor going up. I guess, like, show the main weapon and special charge is, like, my thought. Make the effect more unique, I guess. I already talked about Toxic Mist. Okay, any more special questions? Moving on to main weapons, and then we're done. Any more sub-weapon questions? Special power buff ideas? Not really. Nothing major here. I think just like, you know, if Crab gets less HP, then have special power let you go to old HP. Would Whale be better if missiles weren't so similar? Yes, but not that much better. What could Inkvac improve on? Being able to cancel it early. Letting you go straight to the shot would be good. Like giving you a way to switch. Zip buffs, bit longer, bit faster recall, and seeing people through walls. Those are the 3 ideas I have. Okay. Specials. Or weapons. Main weapons. Inkjet buffs, it needs damage. It needs to do better damage. It does way too little damage. Gearability tier list, that's too weird. I'm not doing it. Any questions here? Slider, I already talked about it. Less end lag. Less end lag and eat bombs. What does Big Swig tier mean? On the few things it's really good at, it's like here. Everywhere else, it's like here. Most of these niches outside of their niche are like 1 or 2 tiers down. This thing is like 1 billion tiers down and 1 billion tiers up. It's just too extreme. Maps tier list, I'll do it eventually. I have a whole video on maps though, so I don't care to do it right now. Nova, it's good at locating things and getting things back in. Why is Forge so low? Because it's a pro. I have done an entire video on Splattershot Pro. Check my YouTube channel. There's a whole video on why Pro isn't good. Because it's very complicated. Not gonna be a problem with synergistic hit. No, I don't see it being much higher than this. Maybe it would need a higher points for special. I'm not sure. But right now, I don't think a not with a good kit would be that bad. Like, I don't think it would really ruin too much. Alright. Is that it? For the main weapon questions. If so, we are done. Jet Squelcher buffs? The main weapon doesn't need buffs. It needs a different kit. Squelcher get buffs? No. Splat dualies do differently from Splash. Damage to objects, like 30 is a combo number, mobility through enemy ink, lethal bomb. Any weapons you want to learn how to play? Not really. Better kid make a top tier? Now, Dually Squelcher's main problem is it just takes too long to kill and it has too much downtime. They need to give it a slight nudge in one of those areas. A little bit less RNG or a little bit better ink efficiency would be huge for it. I think that's the main thing it needs right now. Would you nerf Splash or just Crab? I would make Splash 210, but I would leave it outside of that. I would just make it 210. Good alternatives to Pro. If you want Booyah, just play Machine. What does Dapple need? A bomb and a special that's actually unique. What does Hydra need? I don't think Hydra needs anything. Hydra's just too extreme a weapon. It being higher than here could be problematic. I think right now Hydra's in a perfect spot for the weapon archetype. Like, it's good where it's supposed to be good, and you can't really ask for much else with how extreme it is. I think it's fine. Like, similar for range. Like, I think range can only go, like, here or here. You can't make it much higher. Because then you start to have more problems. Yeah, and Hydra could be higher if meta changes happen. I think Hydra's fine. What kit for a bottom tier would shoot it up? Any unique kit on L3 would shoot it up. Nothing else here I see going super high, but L3 is the current, like... Oh yeah, this will get way better with a different kit. Like, L3 is kind of waiting for that. What are they thinking when they made Splash? I don't know, Splash is fine. I think they just overtuned Crab. I don't know. I don't think it's that deep. Ideal Snipe Rider kit? Honestly, it could be pretty flexible, the sub. Just give it a special that actually works for it. I don't know, attack is okay, but it's not great. I think, like, Wall Booyah would be good. Or Wall Bubble, or something like that. Splatoon class do you think is better? I think Wiper is a tad better than Stamper. Chris, you have a better kit than the vanilla one? Possibly, but it's unlikely. Alright. That's going to be it. I think that's enough questions, so. Thank you guys for watching. This was a long stream. I hope you enjoyed. I am absolutely exhausted. This was very, very long. So we're going to go and take a break. So, dude is playing Snipe Rider, and I like Snipe Rider, so why don't you guys go watch dude play Snipe? Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Little over 2.5 hours of talking about Splatoon tiers. Alright. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.